This is the dashboard on the mobile side. So when your technician comes into the mobile, this is what he is going to be seeing is the dashboard side. Now you can see I've got a job here, but I've got several jobs loaded. You can see here I've got 3 different jobs in the all jobs side because I wanted to point out a few things. I wanted to have all that prepared. So now if you're dispatching your technician 1 job at a time, typically all they would see here is 1 job. So again, this being a training site, I've got it set up for a couple different reasons. On the overview here, we can see that this is my most current job. It was set up for this morning at 10 o'clock, so this is my most current job. What the technician sees is the customer's name here and can also see the job number that was set up from ServiceTitan. The technician can also see here the reason for the call. You can see here it's no cooling, indoor fan runs, but the outdoor unit is not coming on at all. We also can see the address location here, and we can also see the different tags that are set up along with the equipment. So today's date and time of the call, and then here we can see that this customer is a member, and we can see that it looks like they have 3 different systems. There's one in the garage, there's one in the basement, and there's one in the attic. So we got quite a bit of information here on this first call screen. We're going to get a little bit deeper into these, but what I wanted to show you here is if we scroll down, we can actually see the technician numbers. Here you can see on the left-hand side, it says total or service. In this case, everything I do is pretty much service, so it's going to be one and the same numbers. If I was running a lot of maintenance calls and installs, that would all be here in the total. And then if I just wanted to see what I was doing in service only, then I could click on service and it would just give me my service numbers. Here you can see that it gives us the opportunities, or actually would be calls ran, average tickets, close rates, revenue. And I can see this for several different things here. I can come in, I can look at it just for today or this past week. I can see that, or I can even come in here and I can see year to date here. So a lot of information I can get just off these numbers. I can see as a technician, my average ticket and the revenues where I'm at so far. So that's that for the dashboard here. I see we've got several chats. Is there something that we should go ahead and talk about right now, Shannon?
Yeah, well, Allison was asking about the why there were 2 labels for member, and I just responded and said that it was just probably an accident of adding 2 member tags.
Yeah, exactly. With this being the training site, it's probably sold 2 different customer or 2 different service agreements on this one. That's probably why that's showing like it is. Yep, very good. All right, so here again, with this overview, I can come in and see all jobs here. If I had more than one, I can actually see those. Here is one down here at the bottom I set up as a done for now. So what happens is you can actually see that this one was set up. It was marked on Tuesday, done for now, so we want to make sure that it gets rescheduled. And that's something that, you know, the CSR, the dispatcher, needs to keep an eye on that. On the dispatch screen, that'll drop in down at the bottom of the dispatch screen in the done for now column. And what happens there a lot of times is those tend to get forgotten or missed, and then we go in and duplicate calls. So that's something that you really got to pay attention to, is those ones that are set up as done for nows. We also here have a content portal, which I'm really not familiar with anybody that actually uses that. There's nothing here in this. But then we can go to the follow-up tab. And this follow-up tab really depends on if you've got it set up for your technicians to see. The thing that's nice about this follow-up tab here is it gives you your opportunities, your sold estimates and your unsold estimates. And I can look at this thing several different ways. First thing I'll do is I can just go in here and let me go back to the 1st of April, see if there's anything in here. And doesn't look like there is, so let me go back a little ways and we'll see what we can find here. All right, so now we find here we've got a couple of opportunities here. And with these opportunities, a lot of information, I can come in here and I can view this opportunity here as a technician. And once I click on this one, you'll see what happens here is it's going to come up and it's going to show us our sold opportunity and also our unsold opportunity. So right here, we can see that we've got this estimate that was sold and it's marked sold. So it's going to have, this is the one that's going to come back into ServiceTitan as sold. And then we have this one here that really is going to be an unsold estimate. This is going to be the copy. As I scroll down here, we actually can see a lot of the same information that you see in the office. Here is all the different history here of when things have been edited or set up, deleted, that type of thing. We can see all that information here. So the technician has availability to that if you set their permissions up. Also here underneath activity, if there's any photographs, PDFs, or forms, they would be able to see that here as well. Again, it depends on how you've got it set up in their permissions. But with these recommendations here, I can go in and look just by clicking on this sold estimate. I can go in here and look at this now, and I can actually see the work performed. I can read what that was. As I scroll down, I can see that we sold a gas valve and an Advantage plan, and I can see the dollar amounts over here. So I can see everything as a technician, what was done in history that was sold. I can also go back to that same customer, and I can open up this unsold task, and you can tell it's unsold. I can open this up. Again, I can be able to come in here and read what was put in as far as the work summary. And I can also see the capacitor and the blower motor that is quoted to the customer, but the customer did not purchase at the time. So a lot of information I have available to me here in the follow-up tab. And this is where typically we would go in the slow times to maybe contact this customer for these unsold estimates here and see if we can close those in the slower times. So I see we've got several more chats. Any questions that we need to handle, Shannon?
Dana asked about the follow-up tab here. Dana, do you want to ask Randy?
Yes, so when you actually clicked on one of the estimates, there was a date attached to it. Where does the date generate from? And is it changeable on my side so that if the tech is looking at their follow-ups, they can actually do them set by dates? Like, does it just do a 30-day thing, a 7-day thing?
I can go in and look at this at any date range. I can also come over to do a filter. So now this is a training site, so I had to go back to the 1st of March to get these to pop up so that I could share them with you guys. But if you're running calls on a daily basis, you would have this on a daily basis. So then you could go back in time. If I wanted to, I could go back and see what I had here as far as January 1. And now I've got all of these different follow-ups here that I can actually call back on these customers. I can go in and look at them. But you can actually customize the date range for daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. Here, you can customize for today, yesterday, last 7 days. So you can customize that there. The other thing that you can do is you have a filter over here that if I click on this, then I can come in, and if I just want to look at my installation or if I just want to look at service, I can actually apply filters and only see that. I can also look at my status. I can look at everything, or if I just wanted to look at the open status here, then I could select that. So I have several different ways that I can go in and look at this through filters, through customizing the dates, that type of thing. So does that help answer that question?
Yeah, my main question was on the actual estimate under their address, it says next follow-up date. Where does that come from?
That's going to be probably from the CSR or when this is set. Somebody might have reached out to this customer and then set that up as a follow-up date.
Okay, I didn't know if it was auto-generated by the system, say like every time they made an estimate, it showed automatically 7 days out. I didn't know because they're all different, so I didn't know where they came from.
I don't believe so. Shannon, do you know, is there something that's set up automatically, or maybe Angie, Roger, somebody knows? I don't know the answer to
I'm
that.
not really sure. I'd have to go into my account and see
Yeah.
how it's set up.
Just curious, because if it could mean that I set up certain dates or set it to be, say, 7 days after or 14 days after, when the technician does go in here, he'll see them, you know, he'll know. Sometimes they need a little direction. So
Yeah.
I think that that could be useful if I knew where, you know, where it came from. But it looks like Brett might have answered my question.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be in your follow-up tab. The other thing that you'll see here is down here at the status, you can see that this one was won. You can see that this one was not attempted. So nobody's attempted to call back to that customer yet. So I don't know about the date. That's something I'll have to look into. Sorry about that.
Hey, Randy.
Yeah.
There was someone that answered that question on the chat, and I guess Brittany stated that you can change the next follow-up when you log a follow-up. So,
yeah, so that goes back to that follow-up.
Elaborate on that, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Was it would be in the administrative side in the follow-up tab. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Then we also have here a history. And the history is different. This follow-up is going to show you your opportunities. Again, if I click on this one, it's going to show us really what was sold and what wasn't sold. So now we have an open opportunity here. Possibly maybe we could go in here during our slow times and close the deal on that. So these are our opportunities. History then is really our completed calls. And history typically only shows a couple of days. So it would show me like what I did yesterday and today. So here I've got these particular calls, and you can see that these are completed calls here. Now, if I wanted to, again, I can come in and view this job and see exactly what was done. So now I'm actually in that call that was completed, so I can get whatever information I need to there. So history is different than the actual follow-up tabs as far as the way that you want to look at them. But again, I can apply filters over here. I can come in and customize my dates to see however I want to see this. So questions on any of that? Okay.
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, perfect. What I will show you here is over at the right-hand side, the top right, this is the login area. Your technician has, he can come in and look at the dashboard, the jobs, everything that we just looked at right here, he can see in this form. He can also set up his meal break here. So if it comes up to 12 o'clock noon and you tell him to take a lunch, then he can come in and set up his lunch hour. And then at the end of his lunch hour, then he can stop that. So it actually timestamps that for the timesheet. Then you've also got the training academy here for the technician. So if he was to come in here, open this up, then you can see he's got everything here set up, the knowledge base, he's got the videos, those kinds of things that he has access to through his iPad. The other thing that he has up here is in the top right is he has the ability to sync or to download the price book. And typically when the technician comes on or opens up his iPad, he probably is going to get a notice to download or update the price book. And it's a good idea to do that a couple times a week, especially if you're making changes or somebody's making changes in the actual price book. So that's where the technician would do that. It's up here in this upper right-hand corner. So that's kind of the information on the original screen as it comes in. Do we have more questions, Shannon?
No, there's someone had just made a comment that their screen looked different, and for anybody that just joined us, we just want to make sure that everybody understands this is ServiceTitan Mobile. This is what the technician sees, and it was requested for us to do a training on this so that you guys can see what the technician sees and the things that they're supposed to be doing out in the field. So just so that everybody understands and is on the same page. Thanks, Randy.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so that's going across the original tabs or the first tabs that the technician sees when he opens up. What we're going to do now is we want to look at some of the different calls and the information that we can get. So I'm going to go up here to the all jobs. Let me actually go back out of here. And so now, again, if you're dispatching one at a time, the technician would only see one. I've got these set up so that we can see some different things. This customer here, Jack Daniels here, you can see that this customer does not have a service agreement, so it's showing the technician it's a potential member. If I was a tech, then I would know immediately that they do not have an Advantage plan, and I should talk to them about one while I'm out there, as opposed to like Mary West here or Sam White that has got service agreements in place. So here on Mary West, if I go in and take a look at this, I can actually see what's going on with this particular call. Again, here's my no heat, no cool. I can see that the system's over 9 years old. So as CSRs, dispatchers, we should be asking for the age of equipment. And then, because that may determine what technician we send out there, right? We need to prioritize that. Here is the reason that we're going out there today. No cooling, indoor fan runs, but the outdoor unit's not coming on at all. So it gives me a little bit of an idea as a technician what's going on with this. Here I've got my address, and I can get my directions here and also the tags. And again, I can see it looks like they've got 3 different systems down here. So I'm not sure right now which system I'm going to go out and work on because this doesn't say. But typically, I would think that the dispatcher or the CSR would be asking which system so that I would know which one I'm going to go work out on. The other thing I have available to me here, and of course, I haven't dispatched myself to this call. I'm just looking at this information. Over here, I've got contact details. If I open this up, it'll actually show me that this is a residential customer. If it's commercial, it would show me that. It gives me the bill to and the bill to address, but it also shows me an AR balance here. It shows me as a technician that this customer owes the company money. And if I saw a large sum of money there as a technician, I'd probably be questioning whether we should keep running calls here. So I would probably be talking to the office before I did much of anything else. I also here have phone numbers that I can call. I can come down here, I can see the Advantage plan, and here's the start and end date. I can see that it is active. So I have that information on the Advantage plan here. And again, I haven't even dispatched myself to the call yet. But then if I had other information that I need to put in here, I can come down here to this new contact field as a tech, and then I can put in an email, a phone number, fax, or a mobile phone. If there wasn't anything here, or if I had this information, I could always add that information here. The one thing on the mobile side is typically anything that's highlighted in blue is something that I can click on and do, right? So just like this new contact field, it's blue, so I click on that. That tells me I can do something here. So it gives me a lot of detail there. On this same customer, again, I haven't dispatched myself. As a technician, I can come in and I can look at history. And once I click on this history tab, what you'll see is there's previous estimates opens up, recurring services. Now this is showing recurring services, and the reason it's showing recurring services because this is an Advantage plan customer. If they were a non-Advantage plan customer, then this would be 0 here. Existing equipment, previous invoices, if there was any photos or videos, they would be here. You can see there's notes, projects, and previous forms. So as a technician, I have access to all this, so I can see that there's a previous estimates here. If, again, I click on the blue, it lets me come in here and I can see the estimates that was here. I can also come in right here. I can see that this one is open. I can click on the blue arrow and I can actually see the estimate, see what was actually on the estimate, the dollars that was quoted. So I have access to all of that information here. Same thing with recurring services. If I open this up, I can see that there's a filter notice. There's also a member tune-up, and the next one's due in 6 months. So I can see that information. Here, we've got existing equipment, and this is something I'm going to go over with you before this call's over today, is the equipment side. But here we can see that there is a garage unit, a basement unit, and an attic unit. And again, there's a blue arrow here. If I click on this blue arrow, I can actually open this up and I can see the approximate age of the system, the date that it was installed, if there's a membership on this piece of equipment or not. And then I've got model numbers, serial numbers. I can also see here if there's any notes. Here we can see it was installed by somebody else. So I have access to an awful lot of the equipment information as well. But this is only if the technicians add this information. This is critical because this is up to the technicians to do this. So I see a lot more chats. Do we have some questions?
There's a few questions going on, but I'm able to answer them.
Okay.
So I think we're okay right now.
All right, perfect. All right, so going on, that's the equipment. Here we can see previous invoices. And again, I can open this up as a technician. I can go down through and I can see what invoices were set up. Now, again, you guys are seeing this as unknown and indoor air quality. This is a test site, and there's several people. I think there's 5 or 6 people that use this training site. So usually when I come in here and look, I'm kind of surprised at some of the things I see. So this is going to be a little bit different than what you are, but the actual fact is, you know, the technician can come in, see previous invoices, and actually open those up and see who was out there, what was quoted, what was done. So an awful lot of information to the technician. Same thing with down here at previous forums. If I come down and open this up, I can see that there's a repair versus replace that was done. I can also see that there is some indoor and outdoor diagnostics done. So as a tech, I can go in here, open these up, and actually see what was set up or what the voltage or the amperage was at that time compared to what I might be getting when I get out to the call today. So again, just a great deal of history and a lot of information in here. So are we still okay on questions, or do we need to stop, Shannon?
No, I think we're okay. I do want to mention Dana has had an issue with the technician on-call tech trying to enter a customer that they know is in the system, and it's pulling up that there's not a customer with that name or address, so they're entering another customer, so it's a duplicate. So then, unfortunately, it does not give them the opportunity to see any history, any estimates, because they've created a new duplicate customer. Has anyone else had this problem before? Okay, thank you. If any of you have, if you could let us know if you have a resolution to that issue, that'd be great. Dana, and you and I just talked about it, but I would definitely reach out to the help desk to see if they can assist you with that problem. And then Randy, I wanted to make a comment. I didn't know, I was going through the chat and I may have missed you talking about this, but and I'm not sure if you even are aware, this is a new feature. On the recurring services under the history tab, there's an opportunity for, if you go to click on recurring services, now the technician is able, if they notice and they're on the call, they're able to do the maintenance while they're at the home. So that will provide the mark as complete. If you mark that complete, it will provide the customer advantage plan. First visit's already completed, or the second visit's already completed. So that's a new feature if anyone is not aware of that. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we go any further, what I thought I would do is also walk you guys through the booking of the call. A lot of you have got technicians that you've set up that they can book a call maybe after hours and weekends. So I thought maybe we would go through and look at booking that call. So on my iPad here, you can see over here on the top right hand, it just says book job. If I click on that, it's going to be very similar to what you go through on the administrative side. First thing I would do as a technician, get the customer's last name and then just do a search. And anybody here, so now you can see I've got 3 customers with the last name of West. Is it one of these customers? If it is, then all I would need to do then is just click on that And now you can see it brings up Tommy West here. You can see the address, the information, there's a phone. If this information is correct, I mean, I can scroll down and see all of this. If everything here is correct, I can, as a tech, I can then go ahead and book this job. And now what you'll see is it's very similar to what you do on the administrative side. Here is the customer information, but now here I got my job details. And if you're allowing your techs to book calls, then you need to make sure that in inter-office training, they understand how important this business unit is. So here we're going to book a service call, so we're going to get it as service. The technician has the ability to change the priority just like you do in the office there, or if this is an emergency and needs to be run at night, then we can change that. Our job type here is actually the type of call we're running. So the technician, just like the office, should be asking for the age of equipment and booking it accordingly to the age. And then also very important, the technician should be calling or asking the customer how they came to find our number or how they came to call us today. So here I'll just mark Facebook, but that way you can get your campaign. Here they can change the date, or they can also change the time here. So if we're going to do this at 11 o'clock in the morning, we can change this and set it up. So now it's set. And then on our summary is we can type in, you know, what's going on. So now we've got our summary. Now that we have all that information, we would just come in and we would book the job. And now once that finishes here, it's going to be on my screen so that I can actually dispatch myself out to the call and do this particular job. Looks like it's going to take a minute. That doesn't normally happen.
I will let you know that I'm not sure if you experienced this, Randy, but on anything that I do on Ring Central, for some reason it lags a little longer when I'm sharing the screen.
Yeah, I normally don't have this issue, so I'm not sure why this has taken so long. I may be having some internet issues too here. That happens quite often. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. And now what I'm going to show them here is how the technician would actually book a call if it was not in the list. So let's say that we're looking for a customer by the name of Brown, and we do a search. And we see that we've got Browns here, but that's not the correct one. It's not the right name. It's not the right address. So what the technician is going to do is they're going to add a new customer here. And it's something that I would be careful of for those that's working with your techs. Make sure that they check name and address both, because they may spell the name differently than what the customer might. So they need to verify that. But I'm big on searching by address as well, because the address just very rarely does it change. So I would do a dual search before I actually came in and booked a new customer. But if I was sure that that customer wasn't there, then I can come in and add new. And then this, again, is very similar to what you go through on the administrative side. It wants to know the name of the tenant or the location. So here we'll put in Randy Brown, and then we can put in our address. Here is our city. We've got a drop down for the state here. And then our zip code. Here, our phone number. So actually, let me do that. So the technician is going to put that. He can put in here that it's the cell or the home or whatever it is. Residential or commercial, here, he wants to select that. And then here, is the customer the same as the tenant, or is it different than the tenant, or use existing customer? So here we're going to say it's the same as the tenant. And now I just click next. And then what it does now is it brings me right back to that same screen. Is my business unit. Today it's going to be a service call. I can change my priority here, my job type, whatever type of service and age that I'm running. How did they come to call me here? And then I've got my date, my time, and then my what the summary is or the issue, and then again, book the call. So if you've got your technician set up to where they can book jobs, they can go in and search for the existing customer, or they can go in and create a brand new customer. But before they create a brand new one, I would make sure that they search well, and I would probably search by name and also by address to make sure that that customer is not in there. And then the other thing is be sure to work with your technicians on how important the business unit is, as well as the job type and the campaign. That's all critical, because that comes back into the administrative side, and that will affect your reports and things that you want to pull up there. So any questions on the booking of the call, whether it be an existing customer or a new customer added? No? Okay. All right, so let me go back to jobs here, and we'll take this one here. I guess next thing that I want to show everyone is I've got this call here now. We've gone in and we've looked at the history. I'm ready to go dispatch myself to the actual call. So what I would do as a tech, I can click on dispatch here manually and get myself set up. So right now should be in travel time heading to this particular call. Once I get to the job, then I'm going to mark myself arrive, and that's just like clicking a timestamp on the time clock, right? So I'm going to mark myself arrive. If you don't do it or haven't done it, you can set this up to auto arrive. You can get with the ServiceTitan help desk. The technician either has to hit this manually when he gets to the job location, which what we find a lot of times is technicians forget to mark themselves in arrive. So now your time stamping is going to be completely off, especially when you're going back and trying to look at travel time or time on the job with your job costing and that type of thing. They've definitely got to make this arrive manually. Or like I said, you can contact the ServiceTitan help desk and get this set up to auto arrive. So I'm going to mark this as arrive, and you can see that it's arrived now. And now that I've arrived, I have access to more information. You can see over here on this side, I now have access to the actual forms. I did not before. The only time that you can get access to these is you have to be active on the actual job site. So if I click on the forms here, you can have several different items set up. Right now, what you can see here on this site is we have a repair versus replace form, the system illustrations, the indoor and outdoor comfort diagnosis. I won't go through the repair versus replace in full, but basically the way that this works is the technicians would come in here and they just need to fill in the blanks. They just need to ask the customer these questions and fill the questions in. And the way that it would work is like right here, you can see it says, how much longer do you think the current system could last? Well, this is the technician actually asking the customer, and let's say the customer thinks they can get 5 more years out of it. So the technician just clicks on here and he just types in the number 5. So again, once you click on it, it turns blue. He can do whatever he needs to here. The amount of today's repair, so let's say that it's $500, so they can put that in. And then as they go through this repair versus replace, it literally tells them what to do here. There's formulas all the way down through. So here, the average repair we see is $250, and this is telling us that what we need to do is take A, which A is 5, so that would be 5 times 250. So over the next 5 years, we know the customer is going to spend about $1,250 on that old piece of equipment. And as you go through, at the bottom of this down here, it just tells you to add up these B, C, D, H, and I, and it gives you a number of what it's going to cost that customer to keep a hold of that old piece of equipment versus replacing it. So it's kind of evolved. It's a little cumbersome, but it does take the technician some time. But it's just a matter of going through and filling in the blanks on that, and then they can save it, and they can even email this to the customer if they wanted to. So that's the repair versus replace. something else that the technician has access to, and that's the system illustrations. And I don't know, a lot of you CSRs dispatchers may not have even seen this. So on these system illustrations, this is here to help your technicians discuss the system with the customer and give them a better idea of their system, how it works, and what's going on with it. So here you can see that as we start, here's a complete system. It's got the outdoor unit here. It's got the indoor furnace here. It shows the coil, the blower, and you as CSRs dispatchers, you've heard of all this terminology, the thermostat, the disconnect, the pad, the whip, the line set. It shows all of that. You can also see here that it shows the direction of the airflow in this particular system. So this is designed to help the technicians discuss the system and the issues or problems with the customer. As we scroll down, it takes these into individual components. So here we've got an air handler, and this is very customer-friendly information. It's giving that this is where the hot and cold air comes out. Electric resistance heater, it heats up like a toaster, red hot, and delivers warm air. So this is very customer-friendly terminology, explaining the different components, like here's a circuit board, is the electronic brains that controls the system. As we scroll down, it shows all the major components of the air handler. Here's the condensing unit, again with the airflow, the way the air travels, but it's got the compressor, the condenser fan, the capacitors, the contactors, those kinds of items. As we scroll down, there's a gas furnace. As we scroll on down, there's an oil furnace for those of you that have oil. Now here's a package unit, and this could be on the ground or up on the roof. A little bit about geothermal, and then it's also got gas and oil boilers down here for those of you that do boiler work. So a great deal of detail here in these system illustrations, really set up for the technicians to be able to show the customer what's going on or what part has failed, where that part is, how things work, that type of thing. So this is really cool. I don't know that a lot of technicians really use this to its advantage, but it's all here for the technicians to use. The last two things that we have here is our indoor and outdoor diagnosis forms. These are pretty detailed, pretty involved, and also pretty cumbersome to do. It takes quite a bit of time for the technicians to go through this. I think probably what we'll do is go through these forms on our next call, because on our next call, we're going to create an estimate, and then we're going to create some duplicate estimates and those kinds of things. So I think we're probably at a stopping point here today. We can open it up for questions.
Hey, Randy. Okay,
yes.
So there's a few questions. Dana was wondering about, let me go back up here. On the auto arrival, Dana, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
How does it work? How does it know?
Yeah, so it's just working off of the GPS and the way the auto.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so what happens is you've got the address where the technician is going to. Within 100 meters, once he gets his vehicle within 100 meters of that address location, it will automatically mark him arrival. So what happens, and I would certainly do that because it takes the human error out and the technicians don't have to remember to do that. And it's going to give you much more accurate times of travel times and times on the job. What you'll see a lot of times when the technicians forget to mark themselves active on the job, they'll go to the front door, they'll talk to the customer about the at the thermostat, they'll go through the questions, and then they're ready to start working on their total comfort diagnosis. And what they find out at that point is they forgot to clock in. And what happens there then is it may show travel time being 45 minutes to an hour when it was only 15 or 20 minutes travel time. So it will skew all of your time numbers. There is something else I do want to show you today because we may not get into it next week. I want to show you about adding equipment. And this is crucial. You really need to go through this with your technicians. The technicians need to be adding equipment on every job that they go out on. So here under history, and you can see I came to the history tab, under existing equipment, I can add equipment here. So as a technician, if I click on this, and we can see we've already got 3 units, we're going to add another one here. We're going to, up here in the blue, we can see that add equipment is blue, so I can click on this. And now what I can do as a tech, I can come in here and say, okay, well, I've got this gas furnace here, and I can use my installed here. I can go and find when this thing was installed. I can, go in and select my dates. I can go back in my dates. I can change that date. Here is my equipment name. And typically what I use here, we'll say that this one sits in a closet. So we're giving this customer 4 systems. Here it would be a carrier unit, whatever that model number might be, the serial number. We can put in the information. If we know the installation start date or the warranty start and end date, we can do that. Second. Sorry, I had to click out of something else, so I lost all that. But this is how we can add all that. The other thing I'm going to show you here real quick is where this information comes from. So here we said this was in a closet, and the manufacturer was a carrier. We've got our model numbers, serial numbers, any dates, any information. Here, if you're doing extended warranties, I would provide my extended warranty information or my regular manufacturer's warranty information. Here is memos, and we can say closet off hallway or whatever. It gives us a location. And now I can save this. This is the only way, I'll repeat, this is the only way for a technician to put equipment information on an iPad or a tablet and for it to save with that customer. It is the only way. If he puts it on his invoice or on the total comfort checklist, it will never come through. It has to be done right here. Once it's done here, it will always stay here with the customer. So I would make sure in your technician meetings that this is the way that this is being done with these guys. Now, something I want to show also, and we're going to go to settings here real quick, but you could see here, I was able to pick up that it was the gas furnace. I'm going to go in and add a note, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to take you to settings. Right here, I can put in the type of equipment I want my technicians to be able to select from. We can see here that there is no package units. Well, if I do package units, I really need to set that up. The other thing that I do is I would go in here and set up my most used filters. Every one of your companies probably got 6 or 8 filter sizes that you use all the time. You can go in and set these up, and now you can even add this information, and then you'll have this on record, so you'll be able to show that that customer might have 8 of these 20 by 25 filters, or 4 of them, or 1 of them. You'll have that in your permanent records. So that's pretty cool, actually. The way that you would set this up, I'm going to have to go out of here to the administrative side to show you. Is there any questions on the iPad before I go out of here and take you to the administrative side to settings?
Randy, I just have a quick one. So when you're in equipment and there's that little memo box, I saw all your drop downs, you had like different kinds of filters. So I do it per, say I put a furnace in there, I'll put house furnace, but in the memo, I put the filter size that they have, the thermostat that they have, their warranty, like if they have a contract, what that service agreement number is. Is that where we should be putting that information? Is that the best location for the techs to see it?
No, that's fine if you want to do it that way. What's happening is you're going to see it right here in this memo here. So that's where the technician will be able to see it. As long as he goes in and opens this up, he will see that right here.
Okay. Does anyone else do that a different way? I asked it in the chat, but I guess now is probably the best time.
Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'm proud of you for getting that information. What happens is we typically don't get that. So you're ahead of the ball game on that one. So whether you're putting it in the memo there or whether you're putting it in the equipment type, either way, as long as you're capturing that information, it will always stay with that customer, and then that way the technician will always have access to that. No, I think that's perfect. Any other questions on the mobile side before we go out of here?
Hey, Randy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it permissible, or is it a good idea to put in there, like if the people have UV bulbs in the equipment, so that we can track when they have to be changed, since there's not really any other really good way to track it in ServiceTitan?
That's where I would be putting it, yes.
Okay.
In fact, I would have my humidifiers, my humidifier water panels, my UV lights and bulbs. I would have my, if I had a Honeywell 20 by 25 by 4 filter, I would have all that information. I would be capturing every bit of that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so Shannon, any reason that I can't go out of the mobiles, anything on chats before I go out of here?
No, you should be good. Thank you,
Okay.
Randy.
All right, so what I'm going to do then is we're going to go out of the mobile side, and what I'm going to do is show you where to do this. So I'm going to go into the office side now, and we're going to go into the settings on the office side. And I'll show you where to set that up at, because a lot of people that are still using the default settings, and most of the default settings aren't enough. So if I go to settings here, my settings gear, I'm sorry, I don't need to do that anymore. The price book's here. I'm going to go to the price book. Sorry about that. So go to price book, right here, equipment types. If I go here, then what I'll see is all of my equipment types. So if I do packaged units, I'll just come over here to the blue box, and I can come in here and I can say that it's a packaged unit. I can even, if I wanted to, I could make it a gas pack, and then I can also do an electric package unit. The equipment age on that's probably around 10 years. I can save that. And then what will happen is right there you can see I've added a gas package unit. I would add my UV lights, my bulbs, my humidifiers, my humidifier panels. I would have all that in here for the technician to be able to have access to. And in that way, once he's out there, we capture that. It's always with the customer. And this is a great place to do it. It's right here. If you do boiler work, your default, well, there's boiler, but you might have a gas, electric, or an oil. So I can set that up 3 ways, or I can just use the one and put in the memo field that it's gas, however you want to do it. But you do have this right here under the price book, equipment types. And once you set these up, then the technician will have access to that on his mobile site when he goes to add equipment. Okay?
And Randy, just to confirm, if you have a CSR who's entering equipment, as long as if they're using that add equipment tab in a customer's file, it's going to get transferred to the iPad so the tech can see that too, correct?
That's correct. That's the only 2 ways to really get equipment to capture and stay with the customer history is either it has to be done by the technician, or it's got to be done by the administrative side. If I click in here and open up this invoice. If I open up the invoice, then I can come in here and add equipment right here. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure. All right, so we almost got the hour done. That's all we're going to go through today. I hope that was helpful. On our next session, what we'll do is we'll start out with our total comfort checklist. We'll kind of go through that a little bit, and then we'll go into creating estimates, duplicating estimates, and seeing what we do with those when we add and remove items and that type of thing. So I appreciate everybody being on. Is there any final questions before we sign off?
This has been amazing. I don't have a question, but this has been so helpful, so helpful. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Shannon.
No, our pleasure. Hopefully next week with the estimates will make even more sense so that you guys see what's coming in and how and why it's happening and all that. So really glad everybody was on. I appreciate you being on. Hope you have a great rest of the day and stay safe and healthy.